Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a really fascinating way to teach kids how to read. It's an approach that creates these super confident readers who actually love books. And get this, it's all done without a single worksheet in sight.
Right? It's the question that pops into everyone's head. I mean, we're all so used to the idea of flashcards and drills and just, memorizing things. So how on earth is it possible to build this essential skill in a way that feels more like playing than doing homework? So what's the secret sauce here? Well, the Montessori approach doesn't just make a few small changes to the way we normally teach reading. Nope, it flips the whole thing completely on its head. And once you see how it's reversed, you'll really get why it's so brilliant. Okay, so first things first, let's really lay out what makes this method so incredibly different from what most of us probably remember from our own school days. Now, take a look at this. This comparison is pretty wild, isn't it? The traditional way, over on the left, it all starts with your eyes, memorizing the names of letters, the shapes of words. But Montessori, it does the complete opposite. It starts with your ears. It's all about playing listening games and training the ear to hear the sounds of language long before you ever worry about what the letters look like. It's a huge shift from learning with your eyes to learning with your ears, right from the get-go. So this whole thing is really designed to be more, holistic. It brings the whole child into the process, not just their brain, but their hands, their eyes, their ears. By making learning this physical, sensory-rich experience, the real goal isn't just to teach a skill, it's to make the entire process feel joyful and exciting. All right, let's really dig into that first and, honestly, most important difference. This whole idea of focusing on sounds before you ever introduce the letters. So the entire method is built on this one core idea, phonemic awareness. It sounds kind of technical, but all it really means is being able to hear the individual little sounds that make up spoken words. You can think of it like tuning a guitar, right? Before you can play a song, you've got to be able to hear the individual notes. Well, it's the same idea. Before a child can read, they first have to learn to truly hear the sounds of their own language. And how do you build this skill? It's actually super simple. You just play little listening games. But here's the key detail. You're always asking about the sound a word starts with, like the M sound in monkey and not the letter's name, which is M. It's a small difference, but it's everything. It's all about training the ear to pick out those sounds. Okay, so let's say the child's ear is now totally tuned in to the sounds of language. What's next? Well, now we have to connect those sounds to the actual written symbols. And this is where the hands-on magic really kicks in. So, I want you to meet the sandpaper letters. This is probably one of the most famous and iconic tools in any Montessori classroom. And you can see this isn't just about looking at a letter on a flat piece of paper. It's about experiencing it with a bunch of different senses all at the same time. And this breaks it down perfectly. Just imagine a child tracing that gritty texture of the letter S. At the exact same moment, they see its shape, they feel its curves with their fingertips, they hear the teacher say the sound S, and then they repeat that sound themselves. See, touch, hear, say. It's all happening at once. Now, this isn't just some cute classroom trick. This is actually based in neurology. When you engage multiple senses like that, you're literally creating stronger, more tangled pathways in the brain. You're building this deep, physical memory of a letter's shape and its sound, which makes it stick in a way that just staring at it on a page never, ever could. So once a child has learned a good number of sounds this way, the next step is a bit of a plot twist. In Montessori, we actually introduce writing before we introduce reading. I know, it sounds totally backward, right? But here's the logic, and it makes so much sense when you think about it. Writing is expressive. You have a thought in your head and you encode it into symbols for someone else. Reading is receptive. You have to look at someone else's symbols and decode them to get their thought. So it's actually way more natural for a child to first learn how to express their own ideas by building words from the sounds they already know. And this is the tool that makes it possible, the movable alphabet. Long before a kid's hand muscles are strong enough to actually hold a pencil the right way, they can grab these little wooden letters and physically build words. They can sound out k, at, and lay down the letters one by one, and in that moment, they get to feel that absolutely incredible thrill of having written their very first word. So after all of this amazing prep work, training the ear, learning sounds by touch, building words, the child is finally ready for what we call the explosion into reading. And it happens in a really structured, step-by-step way that's all about building confidence.
The whole journey starts with what we call the pink series. Everything here is super simple, it's phonetic, and it's just 3 letters long. You know, words like cat, pig, sun. The whole point is to give the child these quick, early wins. They read a word, they match it to a picture, and they feel that amazing, I did it feeling. It's all about building that foundation of confidence. From there, once they're feeling good, they move up to the blue series. Here, we just gently raise the difficulty a little bit by introducing consonant blends. That's when you have 2 consonants together, like the st in stop or the fla in flag. It's the logical next step that builds right on top of the skills they just mastered. And then finally, we have the green series. This is where we start to tackle all the beautifully messy parts of the English language. This is where kids learn all those tricky letter combinations that make a single sound, like AI in rain or EA in team. By learning these patterns in a really systematic way, they end up with incredibly strong and methodical reading skills. But honestly, more important than any of the materials or the different colored series is the philosophy that's behind this entire process. It's really about the journey, not just the race to the finish line. See, at the very heart of this method is a promise we make to the child. This is not a race. We're not going to push you. We're not going to compare you to your friends. There's no pressure, and there are no arbitrary reading levels. The adult's job is simply to watch, to prepare the environment, and to gently guide the child on their own unique timeline. And the result of this really respectful, child-led process is just so powerful. The goal isn't just to make a kid who can read. The goal is to nurture a child who loves to read. It's about making reading a source of pure joy and discovery that will hopefully last for the rest of their lives.
And that kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? In our culture's big rush to give our kids a head start on everything, what if we just reframed the goal a little bit? What if the main objective wasn't about being the first one or the best one, but about making sure that the journey of learning was, above all else, a joyful one?